Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We've still got some attendees joining us, so we'll just continue to let them get logged in, but we'll go ahead and get started. I want to be sure we have enough time for our panelists to cover everything that they want to cover. So hello, good morning. Welcome to our first live stream webinar in the Connection, Confidence, and Commitment series. I'm Katie Schatz, the CEO at MAR, and I'm so thrilled to be with all of you today. Before I introduce you to the panel, there are some housekeeping items I wanted to share with you. First, for better streaming, if you close all your other windows in your web browser and other windows on your computer like Outlook, or if you have email up, that should speed things up and reduce any buffering. We have all of the attendees muted to avoid background noise. So you won't be able to ask questions verbally, but you can use the Q&A feature to do that. So if you look at the bottom of your screen and hover over kind of the bottom center of your screen, there should be two little talk bubbles and a Q&A feature. And you can use that to ask questions, and I'll be monitoring that throughout the session today. And then I'll help Lauren address those questions at the end of our session today. There is also a chat feature where you guys can talk to each other through that feature if you'd like. But if you do have a question, please put it in the Q&A part so I'm sure not to miss it that way. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys for a second so I can introduce our panelists. So our great team today, our moderator is Lauren Wiuff, and she's with Marks & Bensdorf Realtors. Our panelists include Tina Black-Shears with Assured Real Estate Services, Ashley Gillihan with Coldwell Banker Collins Mari, Leon Dickson Sr. with Benchmark at Southwind Realtors. Leon's on his way, he's getting logged in as we speak, and Joshua Spotts with Cry-Like Realtors. So they're an awesome team, and we're so thrilled to have them with us today. Also wanted to kind of give you a lay of the land for the rest of these webinars and how this will go. So as I said, we're calling it Confidence or Connection, Confidence, Commitment, our webinar series. All of these webinars will be offered each Thursday at 10 a.m. We're at our first one today, April 2nd, Essential and Effective, the New Normal for Realtors. Next Thursday, we're offering one on commercial real estate, but a lot of this will be very interesting content for our residential agents as well, so I hope you'll join us. And then you can see the rest of the schedule through May 14th as we have it planned for now. Through May 14th. So we will add all of these to the calendar on mar.org so you can register there and look for information on these in the Weekly Realtor as well. I also want to give a huge shout out and thank you to our MAR 2020 title sponsors, Community Mortgage, Crump Mortgage, and Evolve Bank and Trust. As you guys know, they do so much for us at MAR and for you guys. And they're just wonderful partners, and we appreciate them so much and their commitment, even in these trying times and even in this remote atmosphere. I also want to give a shout out to our gold sponsors, Bank of England Mortgage and Mortgage Financial Services. So big thanks to them as well. So I am going to I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lauren and let her take it from here. And Leon's with us. He's at the beach. Maybe that's why he was a little late. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lauren and let you do your thing.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you could join us today. I hope everyone's staying safe and spending time with their families. So let's first let the panelists introduce themselves. So Tina, if you want to get us started. Oh, Tina's still on mute. There you go.
Hello, my name is Tina Black. I am with Assured Real Estate Services. I've been a real estate agent now for 22 years, and I'm so excited to be here today.
Good morning. I'm Leon Dickson, the owner, principal broker for Benchmark at Southwind Realtors, and I'm excited to be here as well. And I've been in the business now for 30 years.
I'm Ashley Gillihan with Cool Banker Collins Mari, and I am super excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Josh Spotts with REALTORS. I am really honored to be a part of this and look forward to chatting with everybody today.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, y'all, for being here. So we're just going to jump right in. I know Katie kind of went over how this was going to work with everybody. This is the first one of these that we're doing. So we may have a little kinks here and there, but we're going to have a great day today. So I'm going to start off a little bit. Obviously, the name of this course or panel is Essential and Effective, the New Normal for Realtors. And here's a question that I know that I have. So I want to ask all the panelists, how are you confidently navigating the quickly shifting landscape in your real estate business? Wait a second.
So, to me, in my business, what I have seen is confidence is key. I think for my success, and I felt like I was really on a roll with things when all of this started happening, and it has been, a struggle to do. It's not business as usual anymore, but I think it's extremely important to remain calm and have that confidence, because I feel like a lot of our clients are looking to us for that. So, I think a lot for me, that means slowing down and listening, and being sure that everyone's comfort level is where it needs to be. And I think that being confident in this situation of uncertainty is important for my clients to be comfortable.
Yes, I definitely agree with Ashley and what she said. I think also just trying to navigate through the process and letting your clients know what to expect in this market that we're in now. Just being able to talk to them and tell them that their safety is first priority. And so I think dealing with those issues up front, letting them know how the showings will now go and how their if their house is on the market, what we will be doing in the market to ensure that their families are safe.
So I'll just sort of piggyback off of what you've already heard. For myself and my agents, what we're doing is using the confidence that we had prior to this pandemic coming about. So as Ashley said, our clients are looking to us to direct them and set expectations so they will know what to do and what to expect during the process. So as long as we continue to do what we've done in the past and crank it up a couple of notches, I think that will continue to increase our confidence as we move forward.
That sounds good. Okay. Well, so like, what are you doing different right now? Are you working from your homes? Are you working at your office? How are you breaking that down?
For me, I'm working from home, and the beauty of our profession, as everybody is likely aware, is that we can work remotely a lot, right? I can't show a house remotely, but I can in some sense, right? I can FaceTime and do things along those lines and use some of the different apps that are out there to do those things. But one thing that I've done for several years now is have HD videos taken of all of my listings, so that those are promoted on YouTube and full walkthrough things without not me doing them. I mean, having them professionally done. And that has been extremely helpful. If I look at the online hits right now, if I push those, I don't know if it's just that more people are at home or if more people are using that as their tool to look at things. But it's a really good way to sort of slow people down and say, here's what you can see before you actually have to go in the house, and it provides all those things. So that's been helpful. And then as far as, like, for instance, right now, I've got a listing that pictures are being taken on. Well, ordinarily I would be there for that and be there with the photographer and things, but that's not necessary, right? I mean, in his rule was that he wanted everybody out of the house. He didn't want any of the sellers there. He didn't want me there. He didn't want anybody there to help. He just wanted to go in and take the pictures and be alone and get in and get out. And so I think adjusting to some of those things and taking into account our ability to do things remotely is really a key factor here.
Okay. All right. So our next question, how are you creating the new normal, your new normal?
So for me, it's been a challenge. I'm used to being outside. I know it looks like I'm outside right now, but I'm really not. But for me, being at home and realizing that I have a kitchen with food in it, I'm back and forth to the kitchen. So that is a really big adjustment. I'm sure I've gained a couple of pounds. So when you see me, don't look at me strange, but I don't look the same probably. But anyway, for me, the one thing that has changed is that I'm now meeting with my agents through Zoom, which is different because I'm a person that like to be close up, personal. I can see people smiling, talking, and that's what motivates me to do what I need to do. So being on the other end of a camera and you can't really, it's not personal, that's a challenge for me. So that's something that I'm still working through. As Josh said, it works fine. It's something that we should have been doing a long time ago. And so this is sort of just forcing us to do things that we should have been doing from the beginning. So going forward, this is going to make a big difference in our industry, but it will also protect us as well.
Okay, I know for me, oh, Tina, yes.
Now, I just wanted to say, yeah, I think the new normal is definitely different as far as doing as much as you can from home, also making sure that you're using your technology. I do think that right now technology is a great thing for us to be using because you can use all of that from home, your AuthentiSign, your DocuSign, even having your clients use the apps for scanning, those scan apps. So using all of that technology right now is huge in the new normal and keeping up with day-to-day life, your little ones, all that good little stuff.
I know it's funny when Tina's saying this and Leon, you know, I feel, and I don't know if y'all are doing this too, I feel like I'm on the phone so much more. I'm not necessarily texting people, but I'm reaching out and talking to them because I think to myself like, gosh, I can't see them, so I have to talk to them. I need to hear their voices. And like Leon said, being able to do video chats, I think that's huge. Anybody else? Ashley, Josh, what are you doing?
Sorry. So, a couple of things that I was thinking about. We mentioned my photographer just a little bit ago, but the other side of that is working with all of our vendors to ensure that things flow smoothly while we're not really physically present, right? So, closings, for instance, I've seen some unnamed individuals that have posted lots of close together photographs and things of recent closings. And I think being cognizant of some of those issues and the perception that it gives the public, kind of an insensitivity issue as well as sort of a viral spread thing. So I take closings as, for instance, there's a couple that I have closing next week and they live in Hot Springs. Well, they fully intended to come to Memphis, and as recently as yesterday said, oh, we'll be there for the closing. And so we redirected that to say, no, I think we'll just make this a mail off. We'll do a mobile notary type thing and make this much easier for everybody. So kind of thinking outside the box, which that's something we're all used to doing, right? I mean, as a realtor, it's kind of a constant thing that we all need to do. So I think just applying that to every situation, right? With every vendor, with every client, with every person that calls, and thinking, how do we make this just a little bit different than what we would normally do it?
Not to be totally Pollyanna, but when you think about it, and Josh, you're making a really good point. you know, every single transaction for us, we have to roll with the punches. We have to get out there and do and bob and weave, if you will. And so I honestly think, like, because every transaction is different, because we have to wake up every morning with a loose schedule to try to figure out what we're doing, we're kind of a profession that's made for dealing with changing times, you know? Ashley.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of what you and Josh just said, I think, you know, adaptability is something that we all have. I think that, you know, when January comes around and maybe you took a little break from November and December, I feel like you're constantly reinventing yourself and how you do your business, how you get your business. So I feel like this really, just like you said, you know, this career really lends itself to adaptability, saving you sometimes. And, you know, when all of this happened, I was just thinking, like, how can I still reach people? How can I still have a certain trust level with my clients? And, you know, I started doing Matterport for my listings, which is a 4D, 3D personal like tour that you can take on your phone, on your tablet, on your laptop. Andy O'Fee does it, and it's been invaluable. And then, you know, I think also just reinventing how you do business every day. You know, I think the only thing that's probably stayed the same about my day, to be honest, is gratitudes in the morning, and then just jumping on calls so that I am still in contact with my hot and warm list every day. You know, normally I wouldn't be at my house hardly at all. And so I think being here now, as opposed to running around going to people's offices and checking in on them, I think calls have been, you know, a big part of keeping my business going, just having a high level of communication and a lot of listening. So that's how my days have changed.
Yeah.
I'd like to chime in a little bit. Excuse me. Kind of piggybacking off of what Ashley said, and we don't have to think back too far, but when the market crashed around 2008, 2009, we had to make adjustments, and then we came out of that. We dealt with a lot of foreclosures. We went from that to short sales, and then we go from that to a seller's market, and now we're in this. So we will adjust, and we have to always be thinking a little bit ahead and never get comfortable in whatever environment that we're in, because anything that happens with the economy is going to affect our industry. So we just need to always try to be a step ahead and not to get too complacent with where we are and what we're doing.
Sorry, one quick follow-up that I was thinking about that Leon brought to mind for me is that we're changing, right? We're growing, we're figuring out how to navigate this process, but it also, you know, we're designated as an essential service right now, right? And we're providing a service to people that they need and they want. And to me, this is almost a time for us to not necessarily prove our worth, but to show that we are the experts, we are the market leaders, we know what's going on. And even if we don't know what the exact next step is, we're going to be there with our clients to take that on, right? And we're going to be right beside them and leading the way with our flashlights in tow, and that we're doing webinars to learn from each other and talk about things, and that we're reading about stuff constantly and continuously trying to grow and learn with the changes, right? Roll with the punches, like Leon said. But the flip side of that is this proves that, like Zillow or other websites like that, they're not going to comfort any client, right? They're not going to make anybody feel better about the situation they're in. What can they do? They can post something on their website that's some very dry comment that is canned type reading. That doesn't replace what we do. That will never replace what we do. And so I think for us, that's a really important thing to focus on right now, is just that service level that we provide. It's not going anywhere.
So Josh, stay on for a second. I got two questions that are very similar from the audience. One is, how do you respond to buyers' questions? Should we continue to pursue buying right now? And someone else said, what should we say to a client who are unsure about the market? I think those are two really good questions that kind of blend in together in what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like I'm playing therapist some days with my clients right now, which I'm happy to do. And I tell them all the same thing, right? I don't have some crystal ball that tells me what's going to happen next week or next month or in 6 years. But what I do have is a historical reference for things that have happened, right? And the market continues to grow. And every market's different, right? Do I want to be selling houses in Manhattan right now? Absolutely not. But do I want to be positive about what's happening in the Memphis market and continuing to see those things thrive? Yes. All the things that spur on spring buying activity in my mind are still in place, right? People are still going to be moving for schools next year. People are still going to be moving this summer for their jobs and relocating and doing those things. It may not be in the same level that it's been, but it's still going to happen on some level. And so what I'm telling buyers is this is your opportunity to obtain historically low interest rates for your mortgages. This is your opportunity to maybe not be competing with 20 people right now. Maybe you're only competing with 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever it is. And this is also an opportunity to slow down a little bit and figure out what the next best step is. So that's the first side of that. And the other thing that I tell people routinely, and that I've told people, because to me, there's still a PTSD sense from the economic downfall and the recession of people, that there's a fear factor, right? That they're afraid, oh, is the market going to crash the moment it's been churning along and it's just going to crash? I mean, this was far before this. I don't know about you, but my clients have been asking that. So in my mind, there's this reassurance that has to go along to every client. But more than that, I think showing the Memphis market is so unique and there's so much going on right now. One of my clients and dear friends owns an architecture firm, and I was talking to them yesterday, and I said, have you all seen a big change in business? And he said, no, he's working on all the big projects downtown, Union Road, you name it. And he said, no, it's not slowing down because everything that we're working on is fully funded and it's a 2-year project. And so I think that shows us in terms of our Memphis real estate market that we will continue to thrive. This will end at some point, and we will just get back to our regular normal of quick sales and the market overall being buoyed.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else? Okay, let's go on to the next one. How are you productively filling in the margins of work and family life? Hey, Tina.
Hello. I think for me, it's all about time management. As far as work and family, I do have a daughter. I think she's 14 years old, so most people know Trinity. I call her Little Sugar. So yes, it definitely is difficult to now have your little protege that's home with you all the time. But as far as trying to fill in those margins, yes, just using your time management skills that we've been using, getting up, making sure that she's taken care of, and then again, doing those things from home that you can do from home, having those conference calls with your clients. I had gone to those conference calls earlier with clients as far as using FaceTime and also Messenger. So making sure that you're doing those conference calls with them. Also, just as far as actually just keeping up with everything else that you're doing day to day, your shopping, just being wise about things. If you need to shop using Kroger's online for them to use their pickup services, I think making sure that your client's safety day to day is also important as far as making sure that you do have your protective wear for them. I think that it's important for you to make sure that they do feel safe on the showings. So day to day, keeping up with the time management, keeping up with all of the skills that you were using at first and really, really keeping up with your technology, as I said earlier.
I think this has been, you know, a huge opportunity to kind of slow down, to go fast. Just like Josh was saying, you know, I feel like we're going to come out of this and really hit the ground running. So I've been really trying to be mindful of keeping certain aspects of my schedule, even though it's really different now that I am here in my home. So, you know, I have my son here with me. My heart goes out with you, to you, if you have, you know, 3 or 4 kids at home. I can't imagine going through this. Josh, you'll have to tell us how it's going. But I can't imagine being a mom, you know, being a mom of 5 children, you know, 4 of mine are already moved out. So I can't imagine doing this with all the kids here. But I can tell you, you know, it's really, since Jackson is 13 and he is now doing school online and he sees me running my business from home, it's been a really, honestly, a great experience for us to be able to kind of get a little peek into each other's daily lives that we wouldn't normally get to see except for on the weekends and school breaks. So, you know, I think for both of us, helping each other kind of really stick to a schedule, like we have an agreement of like what time we're going to have breakfast, what time we're going to have lunch, and what we're going to do with ourselves in between. So, you know, it's been a pleasant experience for me to be able to share that with Jackson.
So do any of you have issues with like the blurring lines of your private life versus your work life and how it's all kind of just melding together?
I feel like my life is like that all the time, regardless of being quarantined or not, to be honest. I feel like I work all the time, but it's because I'm so fortunate that I get to do something I love to do all the time. But I feel like it's a struggle before this, and it's going to continue to be a struggle after. That's just how it's been for me.
Okay, and for me, as I mentioned earlier, I'm sitting in the kitchen right now. When I leave here, I'll be in the media room. I do have a home office, but I don't seem to be as productive in a home office. That's the area that my wife uses the most. So just trying to figure out how to forget about the comfort, because when I'm home, my energy level and everything just drops because I realize that I'm not at work anymore. But so that's an adjustment for me. I'm making progress, but it's still a struggle. I just do much better outside of the house. And so I have to be really intentional about it. You see right now I have a jacket on and a white shirt or whatever. And this is typically how I get up and dress each morning, so that it will remind me that I'm not at home, I'm still at work. Even though I'm home, I still have to work. So that has helped somewhat.
Leon, I think that's funny that you say that about getting dressed. This morning, I got dressed. I get up every morning and do my morning routine and you know, read and try to stay away from the news. Right now, frankly, it just can be obsessive for me at least. But I was walking through the den, and our 4-year-old son was sitting there playing with some Legos, and he looked up, he goes, "Daddy, are you going to work today?" Like, yes, buddy. I mean, I am. I'm going to my new work, right? Like, I'm going over here and getting on this call with these people, but I've not been getting up and putting on a sports coat every day, although maybe I should. But my wife and I have 3 children. The oldest is 11, and then we have a 7-year-old little girl, and then we have our 4-year-old little boy. And the adjustment there has been really strong. Kaylee and I are my wife and I are probably a little bit unconventional in our parenting skills, in that we don't take every single thing that our kids' schools say to heart, right? So we're not constantly drilling in this academic regimen that they have. But that's had to change a lot, right? So they're doing all 4 of them. I mean, all 3 of them have 4 or 5 different video conference calls a day, which is just bizarre to see our 4-year-old sitting there, you know, trying to figure out his ABCs on this video call. So we've adjusted a lot in figuring that out and navigating it. My wife is a physician, and she's the director of hospitalists for Methodist hospitals in Memphis, and she's seeing patients, and she's on all kinds of committees and that are leading the pack on this. And so that line has been blurred in from what our normal is, right? Because she's under this constant stress and fear and challenge. And so, you know, that's what I remind myself, that I'm not doing rocket science or brain surgery every day. I'm just simply helping sell homes. And so surely I can figure out a better way to do it than just giving up or throwing my hands up when she's out there taking care of people.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Can't even imagine what that's like and the stress that Kaylee is under, any medical professional. Okay, so there was a good question that I want to be able to go back to real fast that came from the audience, and it goes back to our first question where we talked about confidence. And this question was, advice for a new agent with less than 4 months. Hard to use confidence when you barely know what you're doing the old way. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to say to that?
Something that I feel like I've kind of adapted through all of this is I'm used to going to events every week and seeing all of you, going to events put on by Mar and my company. And something that has really saved me in all of this is being able to reach out to my fellow agents and say, you know, how are you? What are you experiencing out there? And I think this would be a wonderful time to lean on your fellow agents and, you know, maybe pick a skill each week that you want to do a little research on and interview some top producing agents and see what their take is on it. I feel like I know for myself, when I first started out, that's all I did was constantly interview top producers and sit down with them and just ask them so many questions. And this is a perfect time to do that. And, you know, we have such a great community. Right now, I am in the middle of a few transactions with like agents that I was really excited to work with. And, you know, we've been able to talk every day mostly. And it's been great just to know that none of us are alone in this. We are all in this together, truly experiencing this together. And there's been a wealth of support offered to me and to you. Like, I feel like if we all just kind of get together through this, you know, we have a lot to offer each other.
That's great advice. That's great advice. I saw, and Tina, we'll go to you, but I saw this really cool visual the other day, and it was on some realtor site or group that I'm in Facebook, and it was a picture of a fisherman, and it said, you know, when the storms are in and the fishermen cannot go out to fish, they repair their nets. And it sounds like exactly what Ashley's talking about is get out there, sharpen your skills, talk to other agents. That's great advice. Tina.
Yes, mine was kind of similar to Ashley's. We had a new agent to actually join the office, I think about a week prior to all of this happening. And when I talked to her on the day before yesterday, I just really encouraged her to reach out to our affiliate partners to go ahead and learn as much as you can about the loan process, as much as you can about financing, also to go ahead and reach out to the affiliate partners on just the home inspectors. Go ahead and line up everyone that you do want to use, have that list together, have those conversations with them. NAR actually has really, really great podcasts, books that you can put in your library to read. So there are a lot of different websites that you actually can still go on, continue to learn. I think this is a great time to just really, really learn your business, do those draft contracts. If you're new, go ahead and get on transaction desk, learn how to do your transactions. just take your example properties, write out your contracts on them. That way that you are prepared and you're ready to deal with everything in the market.
That's great.
And, Lauren, it has given me an opportunity to spend more time. As Tina said, I've had four new agents within the last month. Excuse me. In addition to that, this time frame has given me more time to spend personal time with my agents. Typically, when a class is held, there's pretty much one topic unless somebody else brings something into the conversation. But when you're doing one-on-one with your agents, you realize that everybody has something different that they're dealing with. So I'm able to address those issues. And then the other thing that I'm telling my agents to do at this time is to really clean up your sphere of influence list, your database. This is a perfect time to do that because the market is going to continue to evolve. And there are people in that list that will never send you a referral. There are people that have sent you referrals, but you've forgotten about along the way. And you just need to reach out to those people to make sure that your business continue to move forward as we move through this pandemic.
That's great advice for everybody, Leon. I mean, I know I need to go back and spiff up my sphere of influence list as well. Josh?
Yeah, sorry, that's exactly what I was going to kind of piggyback on, both Tina and Leon there, is that like my assistant, she's working from home right now. But this is a really good time for her to make sure that we have everybody's birthdays and anniversaries and things input into our database that we use. And sorry, the sun's coming up.
Keep going. Sorry.
And it's a perfect time to again really sharpen our tools. And so that's one thing I've had her doing, is going through and making sure that transaction desk is completely cleaned up and that every transaction that we're working on has every single thing that we're supposed to have in it, or that, you know, ideally we want to have. Because I'm sure, like most of you guys, I get busy. We all get busy, and that's a different level for everybody. But whatever level we get busy at, we start to kind of, right, the wheels kind of start to spin off on certain things, and those things tend to be forgotten. And then we look up in 4 or 5 years and we're like, well, why did this person list their house with so-and-so? How did they forget about me? Oh, right, I've not made contact with them in 4 years or whatever it is. And so, you know, the post office is still working just fine right now. I'm a big fan of really high quality mailers to people and letters and cards. And I try to sit down and do 4 to 5 handwritten notes every day to clients, potential clients, vendors, whoever they are, just to, I mean, that's on a normal basis. So I think, you know, focusing on some of those things, what can we control and what can we do, is really important.
Cool. Great. Okay. So let's go on to our next question. So, how has this forced you to change and adapt? We're talking best practices, also being able to help your clients. I know something that we talked about previously was promoting our image, keeping us essential, things of that nature.
I think for me, it just goes back to adaptability. And, you know, right when this is going on, I was just in the thick of it and really switching gears and doing video. I think video, if you can do it, do it. If you're not comfortable with it, get comfortable with it. It's a great way to get yourself in front of your sphere of influence, especially on Facebook. I think most of us probably have the biggest audiences on Facebook. You know, experimenting with videos that you shoot on your phone and also Facebook Lives, I feel like has been a great asset to me to be able to do video and tell people, because right when this all was happening, my clients and just people that I knew would text me or message me and ask me questions, and people were telling them just crazy things, right? And so I wanted to get ahead of that by saying, like, you know, all of us are in this together, and we are going to be safe together. We're going to make good, responsible choices. I wanted to be a voice of reason, rather than hyping different aspects of this situation up. So I wanted to take the lead, and all of us should. We should be, just like Josh was saying, you know, you go 5 years and then someone's listed their house with someone else. I want to stay in front of that and say, hey, you know, I'm here for you. Whatever that is, if you just need to talk, just staying in front of people and making sure that, you know, a few weeks ago we could be in front of everyone in a physical way, but we can't now. So I feel like video is a great tool to utilize to become a leader, to show people that you were there for them, to navigate real estate for them. So I just think that, to me, that's been the most beneficial tool in this time.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Ashley. I always tell our agents that you have to look at it as Blockbuster and Redbox. You got to keep reinventing yourself. That's the only way to stay relevant in today's market for real estate. I do think that also educating the consumer on what's going on in the real estate industry is extremely important. Really getting out there and making sure that you are on the social media platforms. And as Josh was saying, giving relevant content and not giving out things that are I guess, inconsiderate to what we have going on right now in the market. So really keeping up with your social media, your website, and really just always comparing yourself to Blockbuster and Redbox. You want to stay relevant. You want to keep reinventing yourself.
Good. That's really good. So we did have a question. Oh, Leon, do you want to add?
Yes. Also, I think this is a really good time. You know, I think a lot of agents, and I've had some agents in my office do the same thing, but I think right now is really a good time to really get into doing consultations with your clients, setting expectations. I was in a conversation yesterday where an agent said that she had a inspection and almost the whole family showed up. So, and that shouldn't happen in the climate that we're in right now. So setting expectations, telling your clients what to expect, because most of them don't know what to expect. They only know what we tell them. And as Josh said earlier, we have to show our value proposition. And this is where we increase our value by showing them that we know a little bit more than they do in Zillow and just going online to be able to find answers to things, because there's no human opinion behind any of those in a lot of cases. It's just data collected.
No, that's really huge. And I totally agree with you. I mean, to be able to really set expectations for our clients and explain to them that this is for their safety, this is for inspectors' safeties, the homeowners, the buyers, everybody. I mean, us. So good point. Really good point. So let me get to this question, and I thought this was pretty on point. This one is, what all are you saying to sellers, especially those who still live in the home, to make them comfortable opening their home to the public during this time? That's a great question. Josh.
I actually was just reading a text message from a client. We're putting their house on the market tomorrow, and it's an ICU nurse and her two daughters that live there. And so she was saying that, you know, they're going to find alternate accommodations this weekend, because we anticipate that there should be some showings on the house. And so she said, you know what, just to be safe, to protect the buyers and to protect us, we're just going to get out of the house. And so she just texted me that the Peabody has a $99 a night rate right now. And so they were going to go stay there. So again, it's that sort of thinking outside the box. And for the sellers, you know, I think that it's their home, right? And we need to emphasize to them that it's their comfort level of where they are. I mean, right, everybody has a different comfort level in all of this and how they feel about this pandemic, right? I mean, there are people out there that are, you know, walking around grabbing every handrail they can and acting like nothing's wrong. And then there are people that are walking out in full hazmat suits, right? So for the seller, to me, certainly I think there's some guidance that we can provide on basics, turning on lights before all the showings, having their closet doors opened, and relevant cabinets, and maybe leaving a couple of notes around the property of the back door is already unlocked, or some latex gloves in the property. But I also think that we get into a liability issue as an agent in terms of saying, do these exact things and you have to do this every time, and if you do, this will protect you, or those kinds of things. So suggestions rather than rules, for me at least, is a really strong thing. And I think that if we help comfort and guide the process instead of trying to take over the entire process, is probably a very important thing for us as agents to remember.
So one of our participants also asked, she said, do you think we should allow them to sit on the market, the houses? Obviously, I have sellers only allowing my 3D tour views until the end of the month. So I think it goes into what you're saying, Josh. We don't want to be the end all be all on what is considered safe, but then you do have clients that still want their house on the market but are only going to do 3D. I mean, how should this person deal with that?
Yeah, again, kind of like you said earlier, Lauren, we were talking about a different question, but you were talking about how every transaction is different, right? I mean, we cannot put anything that we do into a completely square box. And so I think that requires just handling on a case by case basis. And if a seller is adamant that they're not comfortable, then, I mean, we know how sellers can be in general, right? I mean, if we have a showing and don't have feedback within 30 minutes after somebody leaves the house, there are the sellers that are calling and anxious and want to know why we haven't followed up and what's going on. And that's on a normal everyday basis. So if somebody's, in my opinion, is so high strung and anxious about the whole process, it may not be worth them having their house in the market right now. It may be time for them to take a little break, or to say we're only doing 3D showings. And again, that communication level with other agents and setting the expectations for everybody, buyers, sellers, letting everybody know this is how this particular listing is handled is probably a good process. And also offering alternatives to sellers. For instance, if you know that there's going to be a new listing that's hot and heavy, no matter what market we're in, letting them know it might be a good idea if you went away for 3 or 4 days and stayed in a hotel or something along those lines, just to kind of help them guide their way.
I just got another really good one that one of our panelists said is, I don't think agents should allow overlapping showings either. Totally agree with that one. Tina and I have talked about that. Totally agree with that one. Good point. Okay, so did anyone else have anything else to be able to add to this?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. It went back to mute and then sorry.
Okay, what I was going to add, kind of piggybacking off of what Josh said, is that if a client is adamant about not putting the house, doing only 3D, I would tell them it's okay, but I would explain to them the same way I would if they were to overprice their house. This is the downside of overpricing. This is the downside of doing 3D. And so we'll do 3D, and then after a period, they will realize that maybe the house is not moving as quick as they wanted it to move. And then at that point, they will more than likely make an adjustment. Just depends on what their motivation is. But I wouldn't push back against them if they really want to do 3D. I would agree to it, but just give them the downside to what could possibly happen.
That's great. Now, that's really good advice. That's really good advice. We did have another question. Let me go up here real fast. So I think that honestly, this is actually a really good question for what we're talking about. Leon and Josh discussing listings and being on the market. If you have a house that sits on the market, we all know what happens to that. It becomes market worn, et cetera, et cetera. So one of our panelists asked, how has the local market changed in the last 6 weeks or so? Is anybody seeing any differences? And have any of your clients said, wait, we want to wait to put the house on the market? Or any of our buyers, any of your buyers come back and said, hey, we don't want to look right now. We're going to wait.
At the very beginning of this, you know, I had a buyer say to me, and they were looking in a higher price range, and their lease is going to be up soon. And at first, they were like, you know, I think we're going to take a break. And you know, as all of you know, this is changing almost daily. So 3 days after telling me that, you know, they came back and were like, you know, with the right precautions, we do want to look again. And we were able to, you know, go see some properties. We have been using gloves, booties, and hand sanitizer. And, you know, it's been really great to see that all of the listings that we've been in, and we've really been only seeing just a handful. You know, we have been very strategic in what we see, seeing only things that they could see themselves making an offer on. But in taking precautions, you know, I think it is really about their comfort level. And if they can, I think that with the news changing daily, sometimes they might feel a certain way one day, but then we all kind of come together with a plan, and then 3 days later they're really willing to look. And I haven't had anybody that out of the 4 buyers that are hot with me right now not look. But we are being way more strategic in what we do. We're only seeing things that they're serious about, and we are taking precautions. And, you know, many people's pre-approval status has changed through all of this. And so I think that's something to be mindful about. Not all of us are in a position that we are able to have an essential job. So, you know, I have a commercial client that I was working with that things have drastically changed for them, and they had to lay off their entire staff. So I think just being conscious of what our clients' needs are and meeting them at their comfort level is really going to get all of us through this.
Yeah. I have some clients that are older, and one of them has just come off some surgery, and we were going to put their house on the market first week of April, and we've decided to wait because it would be hard for them to get a hotel or to stay anywhere else. So that was just a choice that my clients had to make. Yeah.
When all of this kind of started, kind of piggybacking off of Ashley there, I had a listing that I put on the market that we had spent a great deal of time, energy, and money prepping that house to go on the market. And we had 9 showings that weekend. And I had 3 different agents say, we're bringing an offer. We're getting an offer to you. And, or call me if, you know, 3 or 4 others that said, call me if you get an offer. Let me know if something happens. And so I just knew that by Sunday, if not Monday, we would have an offer. Well, that Sunday is kind of when things cranked up, like the 15th or so of March. And then on that Monday, of course, everything just kind of crashed, including all the markets and stock markets and things. And so this house still sits there with, you know, probably all these people still have interest in it. It's not like they went out and bought something else. They just paused. They just pulled back and said, hold on a minute. And that's going to happen, right? In the uncertainty, there's going to be challenges for people that they say, okay, well, I was going to pay cash for this, and now I'm going to hold on to my cash or whatever it is. And I think until we start to see positive media influence coming our way, that we're going to continue to see this wishy-washy roller coaster of things. And again, as everybody today has said, being that sort of constant, and that, okay, this house may sell before you come back to make the offer, or it may not. And if it's still there, then we'll come back to it. I think is really good, instead of trying to persuade or change people's minds, or you know, be this sales tactic kind of thing of pushing people. Now is not the time to probably do that. It's to let these people be the plateau that they want to be and us come to that level and lead through that. And I really liked what Ashley hit on just about, allowing the clients to sort of dictate where we go.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so we are about to hit an hour. We've got one more question to go through with our panelists. So if you'll just stay tuned for 15 more minutes, and then we'll start wrapping this up. This has been such a great discussion, and gosh, I really appreciate, I'm learning a lot and taking notes myself. So I do have a question about what right now, and I want to wrap this up on a super positive note. What right now is keeping you inspired and keeping you going forward every day? Tina.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I think one of the things that keeps me inspired really is my daughter, Trinity. I think that just always remember what she told me about how important my job is as she was growing up, and she's seen me in real estate her whole life. One of the things that she said is that you have to know how important this job is, because when you are helping someone to purchase their home or to sell their home, that's where they wake up from every morning. That's where they go to work from every morning. That's where they go to school from every morning. That's where they eat their breakfast at. That's where their families have their parties and their gatherings at, well, in the past. And so I think just really listening to her say those things to me helps to motivate me, helps me to actually just look inside my heart and to listen to my clients and to know how important our job is, because that is where your clients are all of the time, especially now in this market. And that it is very important for us to keep that in mind and just know how important our job is. And so I really think just listening to your clients, like Ashley said, just focusing on the fact that what we do is really, really important, and then just really giving it your all. So I think that that's what keeps me encouraged and keeps me motivated, knowing how important this is to families.
I love that. Yeah.
Something that's really been motivating me through all of this is I think a lot of times I feel like I have to go, go, go. And I think even through some rough patches with my health that I've faced in the past, I think that has always pulled me out of everything, is the need to go, go, go. So this has been very different, this whole situation, but what has really been encouraging to me is just the support of my loved ones and my coworkers, really of our real estate community. Like I said, just reaching out to those agents, and just realizing how lucky and fortunate I am to be doing something that means so much to me. And for me and for Jackson to be able to see that every day, just like Tina was saying, it's so meaningful to be able to see that the impact that we have on our community, on our clients, on our children, on our loved ones, really has kept me going in all of this time, because I feel like sometimes we have this sink or swim mentality, and sometimes there's another option, which is just to float, right? Just to chill and realize, like, I'm safe. We're all going to get through this. And really what is very encouraging to me is to know without a doubt when I say the best is yet to come. Like, that's a true statement in my mind. Like, the best of this year and the best of our community and the best of all of the good stuff is yet to come. So it keeps me going every day.
I love that. That reminds me, and I'm going to get all preachy, but that reminds me of this saying, and I think it's in the Tao Te Ching, but it talks about, if you throw a rock, a boulder in the middle of a stream, you're going to make a splash. You're going to make a huge impact, and it's going to change for a second. But then if the boulder stays in the stream, the water after a while will start to carve its way into the boulder. And I'm thinking about what Ashley's saying is sometimes you just gotta, doing nothing is doing something. And I really thought that was awesome. Thank you, Ashley.
Lauren, and for me, a lot of you don't know, but I started my company when the market crashed. I mean, which wasn't a bright idea, but I was able to survive that market and several markets behind that. So that keeps me inspired, because if I could make it through the downturn of the market in 2009, this is just another challenge that we'll get through as well. And the other thing that keeps me inspired is that the year that I served as MAR president, 2011, during my speech at the inauguration, one of the things that I said was, don't let your circumstances dictate your destination. And right now we're in a circumstance, but it should not dictate how we come out of this. If we continue to be positive, do the things that we know work, continue to treat our clients and our fellow realtors fairly, then this will pass as well. So that's what keeps me inspired. And then on top of that, a lot of you know I come from a large family, 9 brothers and 2 sisters. My mom and dad are still healthy, and all of my, and we just recently did a Zoom a couple of nights ago, and I said, before I started the meeting, I said this was only going to last 30 minutes. We were on Zoom for 1 hour and 45 minutes until I ended it. So those are the type of things that are keeping me motivated and inspired during this time.
I think for me, my motivation comes from several different sources, right? So seeing my wife get up every day and put on all her gear and head into the hospital bravely, kind of puts it in perspective for me that I don't really have any challenges. And then several people have touched on today, spending more time with my children has really been amazing, right? I mean, we're all locked in together and going together 24/7. 2 of them just walked by a second ago in the background here. And it's a joy, right? So it's that perspective shift of, oh gosh, now I've got to do this school stuff with my kids, and shifting that perspective to, oh, I get to do this. This is what a joy this is. And I get to still have clients calling me. I get to participate. People value what I have to say and want my guidance and opinion on things. And so to me, there's a couple of strategies that go into that. One is, again, sort of that perspective shift and saying this, what a joy this is, and focusing on gratitude. I think Ashley touched on that earlier as well. And then the second side of that is also just kind of giving ourselves some grace. We don't have to be the badasses that go out and set the world on fire right now and sell every house that's going. I know that's all of our competitive nature. I know that's where all, as a real estate agents, we all want to do top producer and knocking it out of the ballpark. And we're expecting spring to be gung ho, and we're all excited about 2020 and everything that brings. But that doesn't mean that that's where we have to be right now. That's not where the rest of the world is right now. And so again, giving ourselves just some grace and some growing room and saying, okay, what can I get out of this? What's positive that's going to come from this? How am I going to emerge from this more strongly? And how do I stand in the wave, right? Kind of like Lauren was saying with throwing that boulder in. How do I stand right here in the middle of this right now and benefit from it? So sorry, the sun just keeps moving along with me here.
I know. I told Josh he looked like a little saint earlier. I texted him. I don't know if y'all saw that light coming through the windows. Okay. That is super. That's exactly what I think everybody needed to hear. I think that honestly, and Katie, and I'm about to throw it over to Katie, but Katie said that she was on one of these panels with a bunch of AEs, and that it just felt like therapy to be able to talk to people. So Katie, I'm glad you're up and with us again on the panel. Tell us a little bit about that and then wrap us up.
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, we as AEs for Tennessee, we get together once a week on a Zoom. The staff has been having Zooms sometimes several times a day, but as a full staff, we get together for sure once a week. we all just ate lunch together the other day. We had a funny hat day for one of our meetings. So we're staying connected and engaged and motivating each other and trying to figure out ways to provide you guys with content and still deliver all of our services. So I hope you've been feeling that from us and that we're here and we're behind you. So I just want to thank all the panelists. You guys were awesome. I think this was such a good conversation today. So thank you guys for your time and all the preparation for this. I really, truly appreciate it. I also have to give a shout out to Kate and O'Hara on our team. They put this whole thing, yes, a round of applause. They put this whole thing together. We kicked around the idea and they just took it and ran with it. So they've got the whole series put together, which I'll mention again for those of you who maybe weren't on the call yet when I talked about this earlier. Let me see if I can find it again. Here we go. So this is what the entire series looks like through May 14th. We may set up a few more, whether we're still working remotely or not by then, who knows. But there'll be Thursdays at 10 a.m. a webinar every single week, and you can see the schedule for those right there. We are also putting those on the mar.org calendar, so you can register through that, or you'll see it in the Weekly Realtor and on social media as well. Again, just thanks, huge thanks to our 2020 title sponsors, Community Mortgage, Crump Mortgage, and Evolve Bank and Trust, and our gold sponsors, Bank of England Mortgage and Mortgage Financial Services. Our next webinar is next Thursday, like I said. Catherine is going to be the moderator, and we have 4 of our awesome commercial brokers, Kathy Anderson, Eric Furman, Luke Jensen, who's our commercial council president this year, and Bob Turner. And they're basically going to be doing the same thing that we did this morning, but kind of with the commercial point of view on it. So we're looking forward to that next week. And I hope you guys will join us, even if you're not straight commercial or you don't do resi-mercial, as I love to call it. There's still going to be some good takeaways in there for you because everybody's dealing with this differently. And they all have their own unique perspectives, just like our great group did today. And it's always interesting to hear what's going on in the commercial world because it does trickle down to how people are, what the need for residential housing is. So I hope that you guys will tune in for that. This session was recorded. I just noticed Barb asked that in chat. So thank you, Barb, for reminding me that we did record this session and we will be posting the link for replay. So you guys can watch this again and again and again, and you can binge watch all of our awesome webinars instead of Netflix. Stop watching Tiger King, everybody, and get educated. So we'll have them on replay for you guys. And if you know people who weren't able to join us, then they can still benefit from this as well. So that was all I had. Thanks again to all of you for being here. We really, really miss seeing you in person, but this helps us all feel connected. So I truly appreciate that we had about almost 100 people participate in this today. So I really, really thank you guys for staying committed. I hope that you feel a little more confident just knowing that we're all in this together. And I love what Ashley said, and I'm really going to sit with that. It's not sink or swim, but sometimes you just need to float. So I think that's a great way to end this. And I'll kick it back to Lauren.
I'm muted. Well, thanks everyone for coming. Have a great day. Have a great week. And look, we're all in this together and we're all just doing the best that we can. So thank you so much for joining us today. I sure had fun. I had a lot of things that I wrote down over here to keep myself motivated. So just everybody stay safe. And I know, Leon, stay safe and keep your chin up and we'll get through this. Love you all. Bye.